This stand was wired for an engine before, so it had a lot of these connectors already on it. And the more I can use, the less I have to replace or anything like that. This wire is basically, this used to hold down a battery. I'm pretty sure this was set up for a diesel engine. It probably had two batteries here. It's not unusual on a diesel engine to have a dual set of batteries. That's why it's got this big battery box. So I took one of the existing wires, cleaned it up, hooked one side to the positive side, the other side to the ground, and that's basically all this is the ground's right to the body of the thing here. And then over here we have the big hot wire that's going to go to the starter, and the little wire that goes to the ignition switch. Now on the ignition switch, let me look up my grounding light and I'll show you what we got there. Trying to give you all a little bit of an idea, because basically this is kind of like wiring a car. Back in the old days, people used to talk about hot wiring cars. And what we have here on this ignition switch is, this is hot. You can see that light up. And this is the wire that's going to get hot when I turn that switch. Not when I turn it once, but when I turn it twice. When I turn it the second time is when it's going to kick the starter on. Can you see that light right there? When I go all the way, click, it goes all the way. Now, same thing down here on the starter. So over here, this wire here, this is going to be where the big wire goes that run across from the big post on the battery, and the little wire goes right here. And this is what lights up when I turn that starter. You see this right here lighting up, right here? So that's what makes it turn over. That's what makes it go brr, 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 brr. Now, if this wire under here, this wire was hooked to this starter would start spinning over. I am going to hook this wire to that. I'm not going to spin it over until I get it bolted up to the motor. So what I'm going to do now is find me, I think I'm going to get a lock washer and a flat washer, put under this long bolt. And I'll probably leave this one without one because it's got this gnarled part on it right here. I think it may not be a lock washer. So I'll take this one off. I may use this one to get it started up on there. Well, before I do that, let me put the wire I was talking about before. Go right here. And maybe I should take that battery terminal over there loose. It's going to be a little metric bit, but I'm going to take it loose from the battery before I start putting that up on there. It ain't that much fun when you start throwing sparks, like when you're trying to hold a starter in the air, start a bolt, and sparks are flying. That's not that much fun. So we'll pop this loose from over here. I think that's going to be a little metric size, about, oh, it might be a 13. It might be a 12. It's going to be a 12. And we'll ease that starter up into place. One thing about this starter is it's small and light. I sure is make it a lot easier to put on there than it does one of those big old 40-pound starters like it comes on Chevrolets. Now I got plenty of clearance if I want to run this wire around the other way, and I might want to. I've also got plenty of room to work around this because it, like I said, is smaller. I think think what I'll do is take this off and bring it around from the inside. I may want to insulate that so that it doesn't, when I say insulate it, just put some tape around this end so that it doesn't ground off against the side of the starter here. I got some stuff on that I got on my fingers a while ago. That's always a sign of a real professional, is when you get grease or whatever all over everything you're working on. Make it look like a big mess. Oh yeah, that's when they know you're a pro. Just a rebob. So I'm just going to wrap some tape around this here. That will kind of make it so that this will come around and make sparks on that thing there. I couldn't move the battery out over here, I suppose. Certainly would make it easier. I could take this gas line off of here and I could literally set the battery right here, right there. By the way, if y'all are ever doing this, don't twist these real hard. These can break. They're mounted into some, this hard plastic stuff is, it looks a lot like the old bake light that they used to use back in the 50s, but it will crack. So don't go twisting that off and cracking it, because then you won't be happy with your outcome. I'm just saying. Let's stick this back on here. Now, if everything is grounded and hot where it's supposed to be hot and everything, this thing should spin over when I hit the starter. So I think when we last left off, I was messing around with the starter because I was having trouble getting it to line up. Well, I took it off, put it back on with no shims or washers or anything, and plugged the battery into a battery charger. That battery was in the pontoon boat. It's been sitting since I took the pontoon boat out. That was before we went to Alabama, and I never did put it on charge up here. So when I plugged the battery in and tried it, works like a charm. Oops. And that may be the battery. So I'm just gonna let that battery charge some, and yeah, and we'll let it rest. But I think that's okay set up just the way it is for that. So, yeah. Like I say, I'll leave it and let the battery charge a little bit while I go drink some tea. And we'll come back to this. Oh, the joy. Well, I guess one more thing I could mention. I was talking earlier about when I spun it over, oil would come out. Well, I don't have the distributor in it. The oil pump runs off the cam gear, which drives the distributor shaft, which has a thing that runs down to the oil pump with a notch in it that turns the oil pump. So actually, if I'm spinning it over without the distributor in there, it wouldn't be driving the oil pump. Just happened to think about that a while ago, so I don't have to worry about squirting a lot of oil out. But I also, on the other hand, don't want to spin it a lot and have the parts turning over without any lubrication in there very much. So what I could do while that is charging, after I drink my tea, I could go ahead and put the fuel pump on. If I've got the gaskets for it, I can go ahead and put the intake manifold on. And then I could drop the distributor down in there and line up the oil pump with everything. And then after that, I can spin it as much as I want. In fact, I could go ahead and hook an oil pressure gauge to the motor, spin it, and get some oil pressure spinning around in there. So plenty to do here, as is the way I do business generally. I'm managing to get all my tools spread out all over the place here, which is not what needs to be happening, but it seems to be what is happening. So, okay, oh the joy. See if I can clean up a little bit.